95% of the world's watches are made here, including the one you're wearing right now. Many big brand watches are produced or sourced for parts from here. This place is Shenzhen City, the world watch capital city. And in Shenzhen, you must not miss this factory.
You pay $4,400 for a Mid-S Tudor Black Bay monochrome. You pay almost $10,000 for a Rolex Submariner. And a Royal Oak Extra Thin, it costs like $36,000. Cheap is not a word that applies.
Asking y'all should receive. Tisa, where are the watch manufacturers? I did some digging and I found the watch manufacturers. There is a new scandal coming out of the luxury watch division. Listen, if you want to keep going to Rolex, if you want to keep going to AP and spending your money, go and do that. However, industry insiders are coming out, and I have their videos. People have even been fired from it for lifting the hood away from the ugly.
The watch is often blurred. However, when you come to Guangzhou, you cannot see any problem just by looking at the appearance. What you need to be careful about is that the low quality movement inside will be sold at a high price.
My suggestion is you can try it first or buy it for a legal way. I'm Sean. See you next time.
Rolex, the global symbol of timeless prestige, is facing an unraveling scandal that may permanently tarnish its golden crown. After explosive revelations from Chinese watchmakers pulled back the curtain on the so-called Swiss-made fantasy, Rolex has quietly slashed prices on select models, and insiders say it's no coincidence. As the controversy reached a boiling point, industry whispers claim senior executives discreetly fled to Dubai, seeking distance from the fallout. Is this a calculated retreat or a sign that the luxury watch empire is beginning to crack? In what could be described as one of the most damaging revelations to hit the luxury timepiece industry in decades, Rolex has found itself at the center of a global controversy sparked by bold disclosures from Chinese manufacturers who have finally decided to break their silence. In the sprawling industrial hubs of Shenzhen and Guangzhou, factories long associated with producing replicas are now speaking out, revealing that they've been crafting components not just for knockoffs, but for the actual brands themselves. This includes cases, dials, bezels, and even sapphire crystals allegedly destined for iconic models like the Rolex Submariner and Omega Speedmaster. These factories, once dismissed as counterfeit operations, are now showing receipts proof that they fulfilled orders for parts later assembled in Switzerland and sold under the luxury banner. The implications are staggering. For years, consumers have paid eye-watering prices for what they believed were entirely Swiss-crafted masterpieces. Now the narrative is shifting. The truth? Many of these watches may have begun life in fluorescent lit workshops in China, built alongside lookalikes with nearly indistinguishable quality. This isn't about fakes anymore, it's about transparency, sourcing, and the uncomfortable overlap between prestige and production. And as more evidence surfaces, even loyal customers are beginning to ask, have we all been sold a very expensive illusion? One of the most jaw-dropping aspects of this scandal lies in the misuse and manipulation of the term Swiss-made. For generations, this label has been synonymous with impeccable craftsmanship, heritage, and exclusivity, but in reality, it operates within a wide legal loophole that almost no one talks about. According to Swiss law, a timepiece only needs 60% of its total value, not components, to be generated in Switzerland to legally qualify for the coveted Swiss-made stamp. That means the majority of the physical watch bracelet, case, dial, even the glass can be produced elsewhere, most notably in China, and still meet the criteria. So how is the rest of the value calculated? Through branding, marketing, design, or the final step of installing a movement in Switzerland? Yes, simply placing a prefabricated movement into a shell made abroad can magically transform a $300 Chinese build into a $13,000 Swiss certified masterpiece. This loophole doesn't just blur the line between genuine and imitation, it obliterates it. For consumers who believed they were investing in hand-assembled Swiss horology, this revelation feels like betrayal. The label Swiss-made, no longer guarantees origin, it guarantees optics. And that is the storm Rolex and its competitors now find themselves navigating. In the wake of these leaks, Rolex has done something almost unthinkable: initiated quiet, targeted price reductions on select models in various regional markets. Known for maintaining rigid pricing to preserve brand prestige and scarcity, Rolex has rarely, if ever, adjusted sticker prices downward until now. Reports from high-end dealers and watch collectors indicate that models like the Submariner, GMT Master 2, and certain Oyster Perpetuals have seen reductions as high as 20% in regions like Southeast Asia and the Middle East. These price shifts weren't announced through press releases or global campaigns. Instead, they trickled out subtly through authorized dealers, many of whom confirmed that the markdowns began shortly after viral videos from Chinese factories showed Rolex style, cases and bezels being packed and shipped in bulk. It's a rare move for a brand that thrives on the illusion of exclusivity and inaccessibility. While Rolex has not issued a formal explanation, the timing raises significant questions. Could this be a preemptive effort to reassert control over its luxury narrative? Or is it a quiet admission that the brand's value proposition has been shaken to its core? The gravity of this disruption becomes even more apparent as whistleblowers, previously silenced or ignored, are now stepping forward with first-hand accounts that corroborate the growing suspicions. One former technician from a major Swiss watchmaker claims he was terminated after probing into the origins of components used in so-called vintage models. He shared photographs of watch hands, bezels, and clasps stamped with Chinese factory codes components allegedly installed on timepieces, sold as Swiss originals. Another insider revealed that even in the 1970s, it was common practice for brands to source bulk parts from Asia, only completing final assembly in Switzerland to meet the minimum legal threshold for the Swiss-made label. These testimonies, once confined to obscure Reddit threads and niche horology forums, are now front and center in viral TikToks and expose videos. The narrative has shifted from conspiracy theory to undeniable pattern, with visual proof and insider voices shining, a blazing spotlight on an industry that has operated in shadows. If these allegations continue stacking up, the luxury watch world may face its largest reckoning yet. The media silence surrounding this crisis is almost as telling as the revelations themselves. Major watch publications, lifestyle magazines, and luxury influencers have largely avoided the topic despite mounting evidence and widespread online chatter. Why? The answer lies in the deep financial entanglements between luxury brands and the platforms meant to report on them. Prestigious magazines receive millions in advertising revenue from companies like Rolex, Omega, and Cartier. Watch bloggers and influencers are often flown to Baselworld, gifted exclusive timepieces, and wined and dined at brand events. These perks create an ecosystem where criticism is not just discouraged, it's financially suicidal. Speaking out risks losing access, relationships, and revenue. As a result, the responsibility of uncovering the truth has fallen to independent creators, factory workers, and consumers willing to challenge the narrative. Traditional media's refusal to report on these findings doesn't protect the industry, it exposes its fragility. When the press becomes part of the illusion, the truth becomes a grassroots movement. Shenzhen's watch factories are no longer just passive players, they are now actively capitalizing on the disruption. Some manufacturers have begun offering unbranded or OEM models directly to the public, bypassing the traditional retail chain altogether. These aren't counterfeit watches in the traditional sense. They're often built from the same materials, using the same tools, and possibly even the same surplus parts as those used in official products but without the brand engraving. Terms like factory homage, parallel build, and unbranded OEM are replacing replica in the lexicon. The result? Consumers can now order watches that look and feel nearly identical to their Swiss counterparts at a fraction of the price. Telegram chats, WeChat channels, and private WhatsApp groups are buzzing with custom orders and insider deals. The rise of direct-from-factory luxury has rattled the traditional retail model, forcing even established brands to reconsider how they protect their exclusivity. In this new reality, the line between homage and original is no longer defined by quality but by marketing. As this underground market gains traction, it's important to understand what's truly being sold in the luxury space. The actual cost to produce a high-end watch is often just a fraction of the retail price. Industry insiders estimate that a Rolex with a $10,000 tag may cost as little as $1,200 to manufacture. That includes materials, labor, and assembly. The rest? It's branding, distribution margins, and the premium price of prestige. Christopher Ward, a British watchmaker, openly admits to capping retail prices at 3 times production cost. Omega hovers around 4 times. Rolex, however, is widely believed to mark up at least 5-fold. These numbers expose the staggering difference between perceived value and actual expense. And while profit margins of 10 to 20% might not rival tech giants like Apple or Microsoft, the illusion of scarcity and craftsmanship is what sustains these elevated prices. It's not the steel or the sapphire crystal you're buying, it's the story, the status, the myth. For those considering buying into this myth, the emotional impact of wearing a luxury watch, authentic or not, cannot be overlooked. There's a distinct psychological gap between wearing an original and sporting a replica, even if they look identical. Enthusiasts argue that confidence is tied to authenticity. Walk into a room of watch connoisseurs wearing a convincing fake, and there's still a lingering fear of being exposed. Genuine models carry a sense of earned respect, of belonging to an elite club. Replicas, no matter how well made, lack that validation. And while some fakes today are visually indistinguishable at a glance, their flaws reveal themselves over time-cheap metals, weak loom, poor movement, and questionable water resistance. The experience may look similar on Instagram, but in real life, the illusion can shatter under scrutiny. Luxury isn't just about appearance, it's about assurance. And that's something replicas, however advanced, still struggle to replicate. This brings us to the deeper question: are luxury watches truly overpriced? And the answer depends on what you're measuring. If you're evaluating based on materials and labor, then yes, many timepieces are vastly inflated beyond their actual production value. But if you're assessing based on emotional impact, social currency, and brand prestige, the calculus changes. Luxury items have always been about more than function. They symbolize success, taste, and access. For many, the appeal of a Rolex isn't in its movement, it's in the moment. It's the feeling of being seen, admired, and respected. That emotional resonance is hard to quantify, and brands know it. They market not just watches, but dreams. And when you buy that dream, you're buying into a world where price isn't just justified by product, but by perception. So what now? With Rolex allegedly adjusting prices in the shadows, Chinese factories shouting their truths, and consumers waking up to the reality behind the gloss, the luxury watch industry may be entering its most transformative era yet. Traditional gatekeepers of status no longer hold all the power. Information is democratized, sourcing is exposed, and the once unshakable mystique of Swiss superiority is under siege. Whether Rolex's price cuts are a strategic pivot or a defensive maneuver, the fact remains: the veil has been lifted. The public now knows that what glitters isn't always gold, and that prestige can be manufactured just like any other product. As the conversation shifts, the consumer holds more power than ever before. The question is, will the industry evolve, or will it double down on illusion?